Crown Spotlight in the building today. Got my guy Chris Butts. Gonna let him introduce himself to the people and we get the ball rolling.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Appreciate you, first off, Ty and Shauna, for having me on and just being able to tell my story, my testimony. Long story short, from New York, my name is Christopher Butts. Here in Atlanta now for about 10 years, but we started a scholarship fund in memory of my brother. My brother was killed in 2009, and so we were able to take that tragedy and transition it into something positive. And so we've been able to give out scholarships to high school seniors who have went through similar circumstances, some type of adversity, not necessarily violence, but just a small token or a small seed we're planting for kids who are doing the right thing and overcoming their circumstances. So we've been able to do that in New York for 10 years, now here in Atlanta for 2, going on 3. And we recently had a virtual commencement where we were able to expand out to different states. So Florida, West Virginia, Texas, California, Atlanta obviously, and
Atlanta is not a state.
And Georgia, right, Georgia. Right, Atlanta's not a state. But yeah, so we're just trying to expand, man, and do something positive in the community for our youth. So thank you.
So how do the kids qualify for the scholarship?
So we they will apply. So it's still new here in Georgia. Okay. The virtual commencement is really that's been our bread and butter. Last year was just the first year because of being quarantined and COVID and everything like that, and it really took off. So now we're doing that like solely a virtual event. So we'll launch out the application for kids probably beginning of April. So they'll have access to that. We'll promote it through our Facebook, our Instagram. Well, they'll be able to apply, and then myself and some board members will come. And we'll make a decision and we'll give out some scholarships.
Do I qualify?
we definitely have to bring this to Louisiana. Yeah. We need more of this. So man, like how tough was it, like getting everything started as far as the scholarship? Was it like a tough process, or did you all just decided like, nah, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do it?
Yeah, pretty much that was it. So a couple of my brother's close friends at the time had actually come to myself and my mother, and they were like, hey, we want to do something, to commemorate, Calvin and his legacy and everything. We're like, they said we should start a scholarship. Right. And I didn't know what that entailed, you know what I'm saying? Right. In the black community, we always try to like remember lost ones and things like that. We probably don't go about it the best way,
Shirt.
Right, shirt, something like that. So, but the scholarship was a great idea. And so we started with the first event. We did some fundraising. Actually did a barbecue. Turned into a big party.
Always. Always.
DJ, bunch of food, a lot of people, but we weren't getting the, because we need to raise funds. In order to give kids money, you need to have money. You know what I'm saying? So myself, his friends, and my mother all got together, and so we started to be more strategic and just planning different events. And throughout the years, it just has progressed. And we've been able to give out over 75 scholarships just in New York, and now here in Atlanta, we've been able to give out close to 10 in 2 years. So yeah, just getting started though.
Yeah, definitely. So speaking of your brother, like for people who haven't followed the story, especially people outside of New York, don't really know, like, you want to give us a little details, like who was your brother?
So my brother's name was Calvin. That comes with the Calvin Butts, 1982. That's the year that he was born. So we started the brand in his name. He was my big brother, man. He was my hero, my best friend. And some things that my brother was good on was tough. I'm sorry, was what he really emphasized on was principles and family and morals. That's one of the things that he really instilled in me. Family came first over everything. It was always family. He loved my mother, even though they had a rocky relationship. He loved me. He loved anybody that was family, he was family. Like it didn't matter if he was the 10th cousin or if he was the first cousin. You know, that was my brother, man. You know, he loved his friends. He was loyal to his friends. If you know that meant something to him. And you know, in the day that we live in now is everything is for the flex. You know, the look. You know, right? The gram. You know, so.
Everybody trying to get something to benefit them.
Yeah. My brother was a real guy. He was a real dude. And it's so funny though. After his funeral, my mom still gets stories, and he died in '09. Still get stories from people who come and tell like, hey, I remember this time this happened. Give you a quick story. A young Caucasian girl who my brother went to high school with broke down on the side of the road one day. He was working out, I think, BJ's at that time. And it was late at night. He just got off work. He just happened to see her. Stayed with her that whole time until somebody came to help fix the car and everything like that. You know, but didn't tell anybody. You know what I'm saying? Came home just like a regular day. This is a story that came out years after. You know, after his passing. So that's just the kind of guy my brother was. You know.
So it was just you two?
Yeah, he was. We were just us two.
Yeah, so I mean, y'all were pretty close, bro.
Yeah.
So his death, like, how did that affect you?
Man, so the background to that is the incident actually started with me. So we went out that night, weren't even really supposed to go out that night. He had just came back from valet, and I live close to the Hamptons, so you know during the summertime, I don't know if y'all know much about the Hamptons though, but during the summertime.
I know a little bit from TV.
So that's really, it's kind of how it is in real life, but you know, a little different though. But they'll have parties and people will go out, will valet, make good, you know, good money, but you'll be out there all night. And so we came home a little early that night. Around like 10 or so, and so we were talking about, you know, hey, let's go out, you know, we want to do something. Summertime, good weather, you know, friends are around, and so we ended up going out. After the event, we went to another place. My cousin at the time went to see his then girlfriend at the time. And now I'm from a small town in New York though, so you know everybody knows everybody. Right. You know, there's no surprises, and it was actually some tension between. Well, my brother at the time and somebody who used to be a really close friend to him, you know, but his really close friend. I'm talking about like somebody who stayed at my house. My brother and him went to prom as like boys, like you know what I'm saying, like best friends at the time. And so, he ended up being the guy who killed my brother. And so, his older brother had tension with me. I've never really spoken to his older brother. I knew of him, you know, but he started something with me in the diner, and it transitioned outside. And so my friend went out there, and so me at the time, I'm like, okay, let me go check on my friend. Next thing you know, me and him get into a fight. It escalates, man. It was like 100 people out there.
So you was literally there?
Yeah, I was there. I was there. My brother came out too. He wasn't even involved. He was inside. He didn't know what was going on. He like, man, let me just go check on my little brother. Literally, because the girl who he had his last conversation with said that. It was like real casual, like, yo, man, let me just go check and see, you know, my brother's good. And next thing you know, things happen. I caught a glimpse of my brother. And then the next time I saw my brother, he was laying on the sidewalk. And I didn't know what had happened. You know, I'm thinking like, okay, maybe he just got knocked out or something like that. But I went over and I just immediately started to see like he had a red shirt on. And so I didn't know at the time, but then blood started to come out. And so I started to give him CPR, like try to give him mouth to mouth. But it was at that point it was too late. And so we sped to the hospital, and we just got the news. Everybody got there, and it was really something out of a movie, man. You know, so that was that night.
So like, you know, most times when stuff like that happen, people tend to blame themselves. Like, did you ever go through that? You feel like, had you not responded the way you did, or do you feel like that could have been prevented?
Yeah, it was a gap where I went through. I hated everybody who was there, everybody that was involved, everybody. You know, so like because I felt like it didn't need to go where it went. And for everybody to know each other out there, and like these, I'm talking about people who I grew up with, you know, played basketball with, tackle football with in the backyard, who were there and watched it escalate. Not everybody knew where it was going to go, but it could have been stopped, right? And yeah, I blame myself too. I was like, man, had I not went outside, had I not did this, or had this not happened. So I went through a period of all of that, you know. But at the end of the day, I just, what could I do? You know, like I could continue to carry that burden and just, you know, kind of regress as a person individually throughout the years, or I could kind of take that energy and channel it into something positive to kind of like move forward and do something different. And that's what ended up happening, you know, through the support of my family, loved ones. Like, man, my family is very supportive. Like, wouldn't be here without them. The prayers, just the love, the everything. You know what I'm saying? So, but yes, it was a period of time.
You know, speaking of the situation and how you felt afterwards, like, did you ever get any type of therapy, counseling, or like, how did you come out of that?
I didn't. My mom tried to make me go to therapy when right after it happened, but I was really angry and like I didn't know. I don't want I don't want to talk to anybody about it. Now I'm in the process of wanting to seek therapy, and like that's why I know I have a lot of things to like unpackage, just from not only that experience, but in the black community, we go through a lot of trauma. As you know, we just had a heavy discussion offline about that. Like, we all need their therapy. You know what I'm saying? We all need to talk to somebody about the things that we've experienced, but we've always just been taught to like just tough through it. Oh, you know, it's all right, you know, when you cope, but you really cope in different ways. Then you become dependent on, you know, different things, drinking, smoking, you know, sex, whatever it is. You're still trying to deal with it. You know what I'm saying? It's not going anywhere. Right. It's a coping mechanism.
We're really trying to escape it. We never deal with it. We try to just
escape it. Exactly.
And speaking of that, it's crazy you said that, because that was going to bring me to the next question. Like, how important do you feel like therapy should be?
Very important. My feelings on it now, as opposed to me being the 22 when my brother was killed, is totally different now. You need therapy. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I honestly respect people more when they say, like, you know, I have a therapist, or I go, you know, I talk, and, you know, we meet once a week, or we meet twice a week, or whatever, you know, like, because that, to me, that shows self-awareness. Like, I'm aware that I'm not okay in certain areas, and it's okay to not be okay, because none of us are okay all the time. You get what I'm saying? So I respect and I salute people who do that, you know, and I think it should be pushed more as a positive thing. Like, this is a cool thing. Like, I get therapy. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. You know? So what do you think is going to take for us to get to that point, like within the black community?
I think with anything else, man, it's like we as a community, as a black people, we haven't figured out ourselves yet. We are doing that now, more so now than ever, I believe. But we follow trends. You know what I'm saying? So it really is going to take, in my opinion, the people who we look up to talk to make it cool. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Just like you do self-care and all of that stuff, you know, and you talk about that, and that's cool. That's going to have to be parallel with like self-care entails therapy.
How these celebrities just made it popular to start your own business. More people are coming out getting confident about starting their business. So yeah.
But it's crazy that we're saying that, because like, I feel like celebrities been trying that for a while, because it's this celebrity therapist that a lot of especially the rappers go to, and you find it on YouTube each time each one of them do their therapy session. It's like, what is it gonna take for the mass to gravitate towards that? Because they're doing it. They're actually, and I'm glad you said it, because it's like they're making it cool. They're making it cool to understand that you're not okay. Especially out here, it felt great to hear a couple of the Chicago rappers, because you know Chicago is the drill area, and they really, you know, their persona was they don't care about dying, they don't care about anything. But to hear, I know I heard I want to say it was it might have been G Herbo,
Okay.
It was one of them that was really like he really got into details. Like basically, you know, man, look, I have PTSD. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like there's a lot of that in our communities. You don't have to go to war in the military when our own neighborhoods is a war zone.
It's a war zone, right? Yep.
So yeah, and then this brings up another point. You know, especially when election time come around, whether it's, you know, public, whether it's state, whether it's federal, you know, it always comes up the gun debate. You know, guns lead to violence, this, that, and other. But New York have like the strictest gun laws in the country, but y'all still have a pretty high crime rate.
Yeah, and that I think that's been consistent since I've known. Like, it's always been tough to get a gun in New York since I was a kid, and like you said, it's still that now. I don't think crime is as bad now. You know, they're gentrifying a lot of areas and stuff like that. But my mindset on that is you got to think of the population of New York. The state of New York is like 10 times the population of the state of Georgia. You know what I'm saying? So when you have that many people in an area, it's inevitable. You're gonna have crime. You're gonna have bad things happen. That's just the way the numbers work. You know what I'm saying? So I think my take on guns don't hurt people. People with guns hurt people. You know what I'm saying? Who use them for the wrong reasons and things like that. I have a gun, and you know, and I think that everybody should own a gun. Just in the times that we're in, it's nothing wrong with having a gun. I'll tell you what. You look at people who are not black. They have their kids in the gun range at 12 years old. 5. Right. You know, look, if they could get them in there at age 5, they could. They're not. You can't get in the range and shoot until you're 12, 13. But right now, I'm telling you, I bet you what, at their homes, they're showing their kids how to use guns at 5, 6, 7 years old. So there's nothing wrong with guns, and there's nothing wrong with being educated on how to protect yourself.
Right.
Period. You know, so
the problem comes in there because that goes to like a lot of the shootings within the black community. You have way more innocent people get shot because people are not even properly trained on how to use them. Even you look at all the rap videos, man, the way the guns are being held, and then now it's not even the videos. Like you're actually seeing footage from these shootings, and the way the guns are being held. Man, one shooting, the guy was behind the car, head down, just shooting. Like, this is how it happens.
And I don't know if you've ever shot a gun before. That's not a toy. No. And them things, like, you really need to know how to handle a gun, like, because you can hit somebody unintentionally just if you don't know how to use it properly.
Yeah, you got a lot of people kill themselves like that on accident, and it's hard, especially when that type of stuff happens within our communities. Man, the family ready to blame everybody but the person. They don't realize that it can happen. Because you're not properly trained to handle it. Just simply dropping it. It can happen. Matter of fact, it was just an incident in Nashville. It was an incident in Nashville like probably a week and a half to 2 weeks ago. And it was a guy, young man, running from the police. They got video footage. And they made a big deal out of it, wanted to say, you know, that the police shot the young man in the head because he was actually hit in the head. But after further investigation, because the footage was kind of grainy, so you see him running, and you see the cop would look like something in his hand. So it automatically, you know, with all of the, you know, the cop killings, it automatically looked like that. But he really did drop the gun.
The kid dropped the gun and shot himself. Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
Because when I first seen it, when it hit the news, I seen it, I'm reading about it, I'm like, especially with our experiences, I'm not gonna lie, I'm 90% leaning towards the cop did it. But you know, before I went public with it and speaking on it, like, no, it really didn't happen that way. And that goes back to, because me and another lady was talking about it, and she was like, she didn't want to pass judgment on it either, because come to find out, the police had been called on the young man because he was walking through with the gun. So someone from within the apartments called him on him. So it's like, how do we get to when and when not to call the cops? How do we get to accept what happens after we call the cops? Like,
that's a good question. That's a real good question right there, man. I don't have an answer for that. I don't have an answer for that. That's a real good question right there. We might have another discussion about that.
Right.
At another time.
Yeah. Another thing I wanted to ask you about, like, being that you experienced what you experienced with your brother, how did the Junior situation affect you that happened in New York? Even though I know you was out here when it happened because you've been out here 10 years, but to see that young man, footage of him begging for help, stuff like that. Did you follow along with that one?
Who was that?
What it was, Alejandro Jr., the 15-year-old boy in New York?
I don't think I heard about that story.
Okay, yeah. It was basically a mistaken identity. A young girl was sleeping around. Her brother found the footage. I think the guy that she slept with put some footage out. Her brother was in the game. So she lied, and to protect her boyfriend, and blamed it on another 15-year-old, said it was him. He kind of looked like a boyfriend, and they went out there.
Dog, you talking about the one where they ran up on him at the store?
Yes.
And shot him? They caught it on footage?
They didn't shoot him. They stabbed him. They stabbed him up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I think I did see that one. I think I did see it, but I didn't really look into it.
Okay, well, you might not want to.
Man.
You may not want to, because they literally have the footage of...
And it was a couple of them, right? It was a gang of them that killed them.
Like, I want to say up to like 15 people got originally charged with it.
Wow.
But he was 15, simply walking from his friend's house. They started chasing him down in the car. He ran into the bodega, jumped behind the counter, hid, and I guess they seen him go in the store. They went in to get him, and the clerk drug him from behind. Well, they let him come back there and drag him from behind the counter, and they drug him out the store. But the reason the clerk let him did it because a black guy came in and lied and said he had did something to his grandmother just so the gang can get him. So the man made him get from back there. They drug him out, and you can see that like they got nothing but camera footage. And because the way it happened, it was like a block from the hospital. They stabbed him up, literally. Like I want to say he was stabbed over 20 times, if I'm not mistaken. After he got stabbed, he had strength. He went back into the store, bleeding now, asking them for help. They made him leave out the store. This young man ran from the store to the hospital and collapsed. Right like where it had the bus stop in front of the hospital, collapsed right there. His mother worked at that hospital. Wow. She was at work.
What?
So yeah, it's like, that's why I brought up the situation about, New York and the crimes, and it's just like, everybody blaming on the guns, but it's like people who want to commit crimes, they're gonna find a way, whether it's guns involved or not.
Right. That my brother was actually stabbed, so it wasn't any gun violence, anything like that, and nobody had a weapon. I didn't have a weapon. My brother didn't have a weapon, but like you said, like that, he chose to, and I heard that he actually went and got this knife from the car and came back.
So he had time. Pretty good.
Yeah. So this and that didn't uphold in court. He did 20 years. You know what I'm saying? He got a 20-year sentence on it. But like, yeah, so, and he was also under the influence. He smoked angel dust. So
wow. That played a factor.
So he was high as a kite.
Have he spoken with anybody in your family since that happened? Or have he spoke about it, how you feel?
I don't know. I never went to any of the trials, any of the court dates or anything like that. I couldn't do it. So, but I did hear when he was sentenced, my mom and them, they said that he was reading something like an apology or something like that. And nobody, I don't know, it just was, I don't think anybody really cared at that moment to really hear what he had to say about it, and it seemed like it didn't seem genuine either.
Because he was reading it.
Right. So it was like, I've had to deal with myself and praying and like, man, like, the day I see him, if I see him, because it's likely, you know what I'm saying?
20 years, he is
that's right.
11, 12 already.
Right. And with that, he has time served when he went in there. He was on, when it was going back and forth to court, so he had time served with that.
He could be out about 5 years.
Exactly. So me just having to process that, I've had to really like forgive him, and it was a point in my life where I was like, I forgave, but I'm human too. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'll never see my brother again. He'll get to come back. 20 years later, he still got life to live.
Yeah.
He can go on, have a family. He can go on and he really can move to another place and nobody ever, and start a new life. Yeah. And I think that's the biggest struggle that I have now, is because it's not fair. It's not fair to my brother. It's not, you know what I'm saying? Like that. That's the biggest thing.
Do you think it would help like if you were ever able to face him without it being a violent confrontation? Do you think that'll help you like mentally, soul-wise?
I've thought about that, Ty. I've thought about that a lot, actually. I've thought about actually, like, man, being in the space to where I could have a conversation with him, and like look him in the eye and just talk man to man, but I know this, and this I know God plays a part, is because I know he sees what's going on with the brand and what he sees what's going on with scholarship. You know what I'm saying? I know he sees it because people support our brand out in our hometown. People buy our apparel. You know what I'm saying? Like we had to write up this thing right here. You see is from my hometown. It's a news review. They did an article on us when we had a dinner out here in Georgia. Yeah. So it's things that's going on. So it's like you want to see the name. You know what I'm saying? Forever. You know what I'm saying? So that gives me peace of mind knowing that his name outlived him. My brother. He's not here in the physical, but his name lives on.
Right.
You get what I'm saying? And so that gives me a sense of peace. And that, hopefully that peace can help me into that next stage of what you said,
So does it mean anything to you at all, finding out the fact that he was under the influence and the fact of what he was under the influence of? Does that make a difference at all? I don't know how that feels to be under the influence of that, so I don't know. I know you're not yourself.
Right. And I've heard stories and stuff and people who've done it and things like that, and I know you're not yourself in that you're different in your physical your mindset is different. But at the end of the day, he still killed my brother. So whether you were under the influence or not, and man, when I tell you they were like best friends, it was him, another guy, and my brother. They were all, that's usually how it goes though. It's usually somebody somebody close to you in situations like that, and that is the hardest part. You know what I'm saying? Is knowing that you slept in my house, you kissed my mom on the cheek, you ate in our kitchen. You get what I'm saying? And you killed my brother. That's tough. That is a tough part. So.
Yeah, and the reason I'm asking these questions is because we have a lot of that goes on in our community. Mm-hmm. So it's like, at what point and how do we begin to even break the cycle? At what point, is the forgiveness necessary for both parties? Because it's I see a lot of when things like this happen. Okay, with your situation it was a little different, but when it's like multiple people involved, the DAs, the prosecutors, they're getting the victim's family head, and they will want multiple people held accountable for things. So it's like, as a family member, you hurting, so you want to see everybody go. But then, as when we looking at it, those people really don't even care about us. They just want convictions and numbers. So it's like, what do we do within ourselves to like begin to heal the healing? I know you're doing a lot already because you're working with the youth, which is the future. Right. So that's the number one thing. But for those of us our age, that the damage is there. Yeah. But how do we get to that point to where, I know you therapy definitely, prayer definitely, but it's just like, man, it's amazing to even hear you being open for that. Because at some point, it either tear you down. Right. If you allow it, or you can use that, like you say, you already turn it into positivity, but for a fact, shortly, it's a strong possibility he live long enough, he'll be home. It's a strong possibility you or your mother can bump into him, and you see him face to face, and it's like, how you have to continue to prepare yourself for that day.
Yeah. Man, you just gotta God has been very pivotal, you know, important piece in where I am and where my family is and everything like that. Like my faith, you know, like my spiritual has helped me get to this place, you know, and it's still a ways to go, like you said, you know what I'm saying, because there's levels to it. But you got to start within you. You know, you have to forgive. You have to forgive the person, you know, and then when you talk about the kids and stuff and like how can we start to make a difference, is we all, you know what I'm saying, there's conversations like this, there's, you know, raising awareness to your story, your testimony, and sharing it and giving people hope, you know what I'm saying, and you give them hope and people start to gravitate towards that. They want to connect with what you have going on, you know, that can deter them away. You don't know that your story yesterday or you talking to somebody there has something similar going on in their life, and that conversation that you had with them has now set them on a different path than where they were going. And that's what we really just have to have the faith and keep doing the work, and just knowing that it's gonna blossom, and you know the seed is gonna blossom somewhere. Right. Somewhere down the road. It might be 13 years from now though. You know what I'm saying? But that's just what we got to do. And like you said, we got to hold ourselves accountable as a people and in the community, man. Like, not going out and, you know, starting drama, you know, petty things and stuff that we used to do in high school and all of that stuff. We have to start being role models, you know, to younger people and letting them know, like,
I'm trying to get out my shit.
You're doing a great job. You're not funny. About calling Kanye niggas.
What up, Ty?
You really gonna make me think? Alright, I'll kick it up. 'Cause